What if the life you're reliving is just a shadow of yesterday? A script you've been reading without knowing you could rewrite it. Each morning, you pour coffee into that familiar mug, walk the same paths, and think the same thoughts, mistaking their comfort for who you are. But beneath the hum of routine lies a quiet truth. You're not your past, your habits, or your pain. You're the awareness that can choose what comes next. Drawing from the profound wisdom of Buddhist teachings and the insights of modern neuroscience, this journey will show you how to break free from the cycles that bind you. From the mind's hidden loops to the power of a single breath, we'll explore how small, intentional choices, feeling the warmth of your coffee, pausing before reacting, softening old wounds, can awaken you to a life that is truly yours, vibrant with presence and possibility. Let us step out of yesterday's echo and into the freedom of today. 1. Living by memory versus intention. What if the life you're reliving isn't yours, but a shadow of yesterday's choices, replayed like a worn-out song? Too often, we drift through our days on autopilot, caught in routines and thoughts so familiar we mistake them for who we are. Yet, there is a quiet truth beneath this repetition. Habits, as comforting as they feel, can become a cage, locking us away from the vibrant pulse of the present moment. Drawing from the wisdom of the original reflection and my own understanding of Buddhist teachings, let us explore how living by memory keeps us tethered to the past and how intention can set us free to truly live. There is something seductive about the familiar. You wake up, shuffle to the kitchen, pour coffee into that same chipped mug, and gaze out the window where the light falls just so. For a moment, it feels like the world makes sense, like you're grounded in the rhythm of your days. But here's the catch. That comfort can quietly morph into a trap. Without realizing it, we start living in the memory of life, not life itself. Our routines, brushing our teeth, checking the news, reacting to the same old triggers, become scripts we follow unconsciously. Over time, we confuse these patterns with our identity, as if who we were yesterday must define who we are today. The Buddha once said, "With our thoughts, we make the world. But what happens when our thoughts are echoes of the past?" Neuroscience backs this up. Every experience, emotion, and hurt we've ever felt carves neural pathways in our brain. These pathways become the brain's default, like a well-trodden trail through a forest. It's easier to think the same thoughts, feel the same feelings, and repeat the same actions because that's what the brain knows. So, we wake up, go through the motions, and wonder why life feels stagnant, like we're planting tomato seeds but expecting roses to bloom. This is samsara, the Buddhist concept of the endless cycle, not just of rebirth, but of behaviors, reactions, and identities we cling to without questioning. I've seen this in countless faces. People who reach their later years not because they've run out of time, but because they've stopped being present in it. Their days blur into echoes, not experiences. They mistake longevity for living. It breaks my heart, but it also stirs hope, because the truth is liberating. You are not condemned to this cycle. Your brain is flexible, your spirit timeless. Every breath is a chance to choose awareness over automation. The Dhammapada reminds us the mind is everything. What you think, you become. If your mind is filled with yesterday, so is your life. But if you can bring it home to this moment, to this breath, then your life can bloom anew. So how do we break free? It starts with noticing, not forcing. The next time you sit with your coffee, don't just sip it, feel its warmth, smell its aroma, hear the birds outside. In that simple act of presence, you've done something radical. You've stepped out of memory and into now. This isn't about abandoning who you are. It's about peeling back the layers of repetition to uncover the awake, aware self beneath. I remember a villager in a story who swept a monastery garden daily, not to clear leaves, but to sweep the dust from his mind. His routine was chosen with intention, not habit. Most of us, though, let our routines run us. We stop noticing life unfolding because we're too busy replaying what we've always done. This isn't a call to judge yourself, it's an invitation to observe with kindness. Ask, am I living by choice or by memory? When you catch yourself reacting the same way to a familiar frustration, pause, breathe. That pause is where freedom begins. It's where you realize you don't have to be the person you were yesterday. The Buddha taught that each morning we are born again. What we do today matters most. So today, let something soften. Let something stretch. Choose intention over repetition, and watch how your life begins to feel like yours again, not a script, but a story you're still writing. 2. The mind's role. What if your mind, the very tool you trust to navigate life, is silently chaining you to yesterday? It is a startling thought, but one worth pondering. Our brains, shaped by every joy, hurt, and habit, often trap us in loops of familiar thoughts and emotions, keeping us tethered to outdated versions of ourselves. Drawing from the wisdom of Buddhist teachings and modern neuroscience, as inspired by the original reflection, let us explore how the mind's preference for the familiar creates a cycle that defines our reality and how we can break free to live more fully in the present. The mind is a remarkable thing, a living record of every moment you've ever lived. Each laugh, each tear, each fleeting irritation leaves an imprint, like footprints in soft earth. Neuroscience tells us these imprints form neural pathways, well-worn trails the brain prefers to travel. Why? Because it is sufficient. Thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, and reacting the same way is easier than forging new paths. That's why you might wake up, pour your coffee, and feel the same quiet frustration you felt yesterday, or why a passing comment sparks the same old resentment. Your brain is replaying what it knows, and over time, those patterns start to feel like you. The Buddhist teachings echo this in the concept of samsara, the endless cycle of behaviors, reactions, and identities we cling to. He said, what you dwell upon, you become that. When we dwell on yesterday's thoughts, regrets, fears, or even comforts, we become walking memories, not living presences. It's heartbreaking to see, especially in those who've lived long lives, their days blending into echoes because they re-caught in this loop. Thoughts produce chemicals in the brain, creating feelings in the body. Those feelings, in turn, reinforce the original thoughts, like a river carving deeper into the same channel. Buddhist psychology calls this papanka, the mind's tendency to turn a single spark into a wildfire of mental proliferation. I've witnessed this cycle in countless stories. An old woman once shared how she felt unlovable because her family rarely visited. That thought, repeated for years, birthed loneliness, which led her to withdraw, which confirmed her belief. But was it true? Not necessarily. It was just a loop she hadn't questioned. This is where the mind's role becomes both our challenge and our opportunity. The Dhammapada reminds us, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. If our thoughts are recycled from the past, so is our reality. But the mind is not a prison, it is a garden, and we can choose what to plant. So how do we step out of this cycle? It begins with mindfulness, the gentle act of observing without clinging. The next time a familiar thought arises, I am not enough, or I've always been this way, pause. Don't fight it. Just notice it. Say, that is a thought. Then breathe. Ask, is this helping me grow or shrink? This simple act of naming creates space, like parting clouds to reveal the sky. You become the witness, not the prisoner. In that space, you can choose a new thought, one that opens rather than closes. It's not about erasing the past, it is about refusing to let it write your present. This practice isn't abstract. It is practical. When you feel anger rising, pause and feel your breath. When sadness creeps in, name it gently and let it pass like a wave. The Buddha taught that when mindfulness is present, it severs the feedback loop. You see thoughts as clouds, not truths. You feel emotions as ripples, not anchors. And in that clarity, you reclaim your power to choose. The science agrees. Your brain is flexible, capable of forming new pathways at any age. Every moment you choose awareness over habit, you're rewiring your mind, planting seeds for a new reality. Here's the value I hope you carry forward. You are not your thoughts, nor your feelings, nor the loops they create. You are the awareness that watches them. And that awareness is free to pause, to breathe, to choose differently. So today, let one thought soften. Let one feeling pass. Step out of the mind's old grooves and into the vastness of now. Because in this moment, you're not just living, you're recreating who you'll become tomorrow. 3. Breaking the cycle with awareness. What if a single pause could unravel the invisible chains of your past? Too often, weary, swept along by the current of our thoughts and emotions, reacting the same way we always have, as if we're doomed to repeat yesterday forever. But there is a gentle, powerful tool that can break this cycle: mindfulness. By observing our thoughts and feelings without clinging to them, we open the door to new responses, new possibilities. Drawing from the original reflection and the timeless wisdom of Buddhist teachings, let us explore how simple acts like feeling the warmth of a coffee mug can shift us from autopilot to presence, awakening us to the freedom of the present moment. The truth is, most of us are caught in a loop. A thought sparks a feeling, that feeling fuels more thoughts, and before we know it, we're reliving the same old story. Maybe it is the frustration that flares when someone cuts you off in traffic, or the quiet sadness that settles in when you think, "I am too old to start over." These cycles aren't just habits, three grooves worn deep in the mind, reinforced by years of repetition. The Buddha described this as papanka, the mind's tendency to spin a single thought into a web that traps us. Neuroscience agrees. Every thought triggers a chemical response, creating feelings that loop back to confirm the thought, keeping us stuck in outdated versions of who we are. But here is the hope that stirs my heart. You don't have to stay trapped. Mindfulness is the key that unlocks the cage. It's not about forcing change or silencing your mind, it is about watching it with kindness. Like you'd watch a river flow. When a thought arises like "I am not enough," don't argue or drown in it. Just notice it. Say, that is a thought. When an emotion swells, anger, fear, regret, name it gently and breathe. This simple act of observation creates space, a moment where you're no longer the thought or the feeling, but the awareness watching them pass. The Dhammapada says, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. By pausing to witness your mind, you choose what to become next. I've seen this transform lives in the smallest moments. Picture yourself holding your morning coffee. Instead of sipping it absent-mindedly, feel the mug's warmth against your palms. Smell the rich aroma. Listen to the birds outside. In that instant, you're not just drinking coffee, you're breaking free from the script of yesterday. You're present, alive, here. This isn't trivial. It is radical. You've interrupted the autopilot that runs so much of our lives. The Buddha taught that mindfulness severs the feedback loop of thought and feeling. It is like standing on a riverbank, watching the water rush by without jumping in. You're not the river, you're the one who sees it. This practice is accessible to everyone, no matter your age or past. I think of an old woman who carried bitterness for years, convinced she was unlovable. When she paused to notice her thoughts, to question their truth, she found space to choose a new response, reaching out instead of retreating. That is the power of awareness. It doesn't erase the past, but it frees you to respond differently now. Try this. The next time a familiar frustration rises, pause, take a slow breath. Ask, is this thought opening my heart or closing it? That question alone can shift you from reaction to intention, from memory to presence. The value here is profound. You are not your thoughts, your feelings, or the cycles they create. You are the awareness that can choose anew. Every pause, every breath, is a chance to step out of the past and into the now. The Buddha said, each morning we are born again. So today, don't just move through your routines. Pause, feel, notice. Let one moment of awareness ripple into the next. Because in that stillness, you're not just breaking a cycle, you're remembering the freedom that has always been yours. This is how you live, not as a shadow of yesterday, but as the light of today, shining into tomorrow. For unconscious habits. What if, by the time you're 35, 95% of your life is running on autopilot, a script you didn't even choose? As a sobering thought, most of our behaviors, reactions, and beliefs are automatic, etched into us by years of repetition, masquerading as our identity. Yet, there is a quiet power in questioning these unconscious habits, especially in life's later chapters. Drawing from the original reflection, infused with Buddhist wisdom and my own heartfelt observations, let us explore how these memorized patterns shape us and how we can reclaim conscious choice to live with greater freedom and presence. There is a subtle tragedy many never name, the realization that we've spent much of our lives on autopilot. Not because we didn't take care or lack dreams, but because habit became more comfortable than curiosity. Neuroscience reveals a startling truth. By age 35, 95% of who we are is a set of memorized thoughts, emotional reactions, and behaviors running like background software. These scripts written by childhood, trauma, culture, or fear feel so familiar we mistake them for personality. But they just patterns, repeated so often they seem like truth. The danger lies when we stop seeing them as optional. They become our prison, dictating how we speak, judge, and see ourselves. In Buddhism, this is called sankhara mental formations or conditioning. The Buddha taught that these tendencies aren't evil. They are natural, but they must be seen clearly to be released. If we don't, they shape our reactions and sense of self without our consent. I think of Raymond, a retired teacher who, after 40 years of rigid routines, felt lost without his schedule. I don't know who I am without my usefulness, he confessed. His story resonates deeply because it is ours too. Many of us, especially in later years, quietly wonder, if I am not who I've always been, who am I now? That question, though unsettling, is a gift. It signals awareness waking up, ready to loosen the grip of unconscious habit. The Dhammapada offers a guiding light. Mind precedes all things. They are led by the mind, formed by the mind. If our mind has shaped who we've been, it can shape who we're becoming. But how do we start? With kindness, not judgment. Begin by noticing the scripts you live by. Listen to your tone when you speak. Catch the stories you tell yourself about aging, regret, or worth. Ask, where did I learn this? Is it mine, or something I inherited? Am I still choosing this, or is it just what I've always done? These questions aren't accusations, they invitations to see clearly. You're not broken, you rehearsed. And rehearsal can be paused. This practice is both simple and profound. The next time a familiar reaction rises, say, irritation at a small slight, take 3 seconds to breathe. That pause is radical. It interrupts a decades-old script with a moment of choice. I've seen this shift lives. An older man who always snapped at his family began pausing, smiling, choosing patience instead. Over time, his relationships softened, not because he forced change, but because he chose awareness. The Buddha compared this to waking from a dream. The fool sleeps as if already dead, but the master is awake and lives forever. Awareness is that awakening, available at any age. Especially in later life, this matters deeply. As routines fade and roles shift, we face a crossroads. Cling to old scripts or write new ones. You're not too old, not too late. Every moment is a chance to steer back from the ghost of your past. Notice the words you whisper to yourself when alone. Are they kind? Are they true? Replace one harsh thought with a gentle one. Meet one old habit with a conscious choice. The value here is clear. You are not your patterns. You are the awareness that can choose differently. So today, pause, breathe, ask, who am I choosing to be right now? In that question lies your freedom, not to become someone new, but to return to the awake, alive self you've always been. The Buddha said, each morning we are born again. Let this morning be yours, not a rerun of yesterday, but a fresh page, written with intention and grace. 5. State of being. What if the secret to transforming your life isn't in changing your circumstances, but in shifting the very essence of who you're being right now? Too often, we chase external fixes, new jobs, new places, hoping they'll rewrite our story. But true change, the kind that reshapes how we experience life, begins within, in what the original reflection calls our state of being. The blend of thoughts, feelings, and energy we carry into each moment. Drawing from Buddhist wisdom and my own heartfelt reflections, let us explore how cultivating patience, presence, and compassion can quietly revolutionize your life without forcing the world around you to change. Your state of being is like a lens through which you see and feel the world. If you wake up with thoughts of regret, your heart heavy with disappointment, or your body tense with fear about what is next, that is the vibration you carry. It is not magic or punishment, it is cause and effect. The Buddha put it plainly. With our thoughts, we make the world. If your thoughts are punishing, your feelings recycled from old wounds, and your energy rushed or guarded, that is the reality you'll meet. Life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you being. I've seen this in countless lives. A person who dwells on loss finds the world cold, while someone who chooses presence finds warmth even in simple moments. This isn't about becoming someone new or forcing grand gestures. It is about small, sacred shifts in how you meet the present. Take a woman in her 60s, grieving her husband's passing, who felt lost without her role as his partner. A teacher handed her a smooth stone and said, "Be present with this moment, this breath, this hand in that raw, trembling pause." She began rebuilding not a new life, but a new state of being, grounded in now, not memory. That's the hidden doorway for all of us. You don't need to be younger, stronger, or more confident. Just ask, who am I being right now? Am I hopeful or resentful? Present or lost in thought? Your answer shapes the world you inhabit. The Dhammapada offers clarity. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness follows like a shadow that never leaves. This is practical, not poetic. Cultivate patience, and your reactions soften. Embrace presence, and the moment becomes vivid. Choose compassion for yourself, for others, and old wounds begin to heal. These aren't abstract ideals. They are choices you make in a single breath. Inhale deeply, as if receiving an offering. Exhale slowly, releasing tension or the need to be anything other than here. Notice the stillness that follows. That space is where your state of being shifts, where a new rhythm of living begins. I've felt this myself in quiet mornings, when the familiar weight of worry creeps in. Instead of fighting it, I pause. I feel my breath, notice the light on the trees, and choose a gentler thought. This moment is enough. Over time, those choices add up. My days feel less like battles and more like gifts. The Buddha taught that peace isn't found by rearranging the world, but by realizing who you are beneath the chaos. You don't need to fix your life first. Start inside. Make your thoughts less harsh, more patient. Let your feelings be honest, not recycled. Breathe with reverence, not rush. As your state of being shifts, your life follows quietly, inevitably. The value here is profound. You don't have to become anything. You only need to return to the peace you were born with. This is the grace of the Dharma. One breath can change everything. So today, try this. Pause before reacting. Feel the air in your lungs. Ask, am I being open or closed? Loving or guarded? Let that question guide you. The Buddha said, each morning we are born again. Let this morning be a rebirth, not of circumstance, but of being patient, present, compassionate. Because when you change how you being, you don't just live, you shine, and the world around you glows in response. 6. Rebirth in the everyday. What if every sunrise offered you a chance to be born anew, not as a stranger, but as the truest version of yourself? The Buddha's words, each morning we are born again, aren't just poetry, they're a call to see life as a daily opportunity to step out of the past and into possibility. As the original reflection beautifully frames it, rebirth isn't a grand, mystical event. It is a practical act woven into small choices, responding with patience, softening old emotions that free us from yesterday's shadows. Drawing from this wisdom and my own heartfelt reflections, let us explore how these quiet decisions can transform our lives, moment by moment, into a journey of presence and freedom. Too often, we wake up carrying the weight of who we've been. The frustrations we've nursed, the regrets we've replayed, the roles we've worn for decades, they follow us like footprints we can't shake. But the Buddha's teaching cuts through this fog. What matters most is what we do today. Each morning, the world offers a fresh canvas, and our choices, however small, paint the life we live. A single act of patience when you usually snap, a moment of forgiveness where you normally cling to hurt, can shift you from reliving the past to creating the present. This isn't about erasing who you were. It is about choosing who you becoming right now. I've seen this truth unfold in ordinary moments. Picture a man, well into his 70s, who always reacted to his family's chaos with sharp words. One day he paused, took a breath, and chose to listen instead. That choice, small as it seemed, was a rebirth. His family softened, not because they changed, but because he did. The Dhammapada reminds us, mind precedes all things. They are led by the mind, formed by the mind. When you choose a new response, patience over anger, compassion over judgment, you're not just acting differently. You're reshaping your reality. These moments are where possibility begins, where the past loses its grip. This daily rebirth doesn't require temples or grand gestures. It happens in kitchens, on walks, in quiet hallways. It is in the way you respond to an old frustration with a smile instead of a sigh. It's in taking a slow walk, not to get somewhere, but to feel alive in your body. It is in forgiving yourself, not because you've perfected life, but because you see that the old you doesn't need to define the new. The Buddhist wisdom is practical. Rebirth is a choice to meet the moment with awareness. When you soften an emotion you've carried for years, say, the ache of an old betrayal, you're not just healing. You're stepping into a new story. I feel this deeply in my own life. Some mornings, I wake with a familiar heaviness, a whisper of doubt or worry. But when I pause, feel my breath, and choose a thought like, this moment is enough, something shifts. The day feels less like a burden and more like a gift. That is rebirth, not a dramatic overhaul, but a quiet return to presence. The original reflection captures this beautifully. Small choices ripple outward, loosening the past's hold. You don't need to be perfect or young or certain. You just need to ask, am I living from yesterday's pain or today's possibility? The value here is profound. You are not your past, your patterns, or your pain. You are the awareness that chooses what comes next. Every morning, you're reborn again, not to become someone else, but to return to the peace and potential you've always held. Try this today. When an old emotion stirs, pause, breathe. Choose a response that opens your heart, maybe a kind word, a gentle thought, or a moment of stillness. The Buddha taught that what we do today shapes our tomorrow. So let this day be a threshold, not a rerun. Step into it with intention and watch how possibility unfolds, not as a dream, but as the life you're reliving, breath by breath, choice by choice. As the sun rises tomorrow, it won't just light the world, it will offer you a chance to be born again. The Buddha's words, each morning we are born again, are a reminder that your life isn't a fixed story, but a canvas painted by the choices you make today. You've seen how the mind's old grooves, unconscious habits, and recycled emotions can tether you to the past. But you've also discovered the power of awareness, intention, and compassion to set you free. Pause when an old thought stirs. Breathe when a familiar frustration rises. Ask, am I living from yesterday's pain or today's possibility? In that moment, you're not just living, you're recreating who you'll become. You are not your patterns or your past, you are the light of awareness, free to choose patience, presence, and love. So, let this be your beginning. Subscribe to this journey of quiet wisdom, and let us walk together toward a life not just lived, but cherished, breath by breath, choice by choice. Start today, and watch your world transform, not by force, but by the gentle power of who you choose to be.